Okay. As today, as I informed you from yesterday, um, actually, I informed that next week we will have to discuss on the discourse on foundation of mindfulness. But Sayadaw is available today, and I plan not to take the class today as well. So I invite Sayadaw to take the class directly for today and also next week on Wednesday. So I would like to introduce all of you a bit about Sayadaw background. Actually, Sayadaw name Sayadaw Dr. Revata from ITBMU, the teacher of mind. Actually, the term Sayadaw here is used in Myanmar, referring to the monk teacher in Myanmar, of course. And Sayadaw got his doctorate degree, as I remember, on 2025, I think. Uh, and from ITBM University, one of the well-known university, international university in Myanmar, providing Buddhist studies, Buddhist scriptures on the teaching of the Buddha. ជាភាសាខ្មែរយើងថាសាកលវិទ្យាល័យពុទ្ធសាសនទូតថេរវាទអន្តរជាតិ In English, we can say International Theravada Buddhist Missionary University, one of the well-known international university providing Buddhist studies, Buddhist scriptures in Myanmar. And Sayadaw also got his doctor degree, specialization in Vipassana. Because Sayadaw specialization in Vipassana and the discourse on foundation of mindfulness engage relevant to Vipassana and important for us to practice, so that today we have the privilege, we have the chance, opportunity to study, listen from Sayadaw. So may I invite Sayadaw to take the class. I offer the floor, maybe 1.5 hours for Sayadaw to give the lecture. So thank you. So I will close my screen and Sayadaw can take the screen. So.
Okay, I will change the background and try again.
That's okay, Sayadaw. So I will share the screen.
Okay.
So again, I invite Sayadaw to take the class, to give lecture now.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Firstly, I want to thank Venerable Sorata, Bhikkhu Supabenyo, who invited me to give a lecture here, and also very happy to meet all of you here. And as you know, the title is a Satipațhāna Sutta. We can translate it as the Great Discourse on Four Foundations of Mindfulness. Okay, Pandey, you can translate first. Only in English, okay?
In English, okay. Yeah, Sayadaw. Only in English.
You don't need to translate.
Yes, Sayadaw.
Okay, very good. Okay, so the Sutta, Satipațhāna Sutta, the Great Discourse on Four Foundations of Mindfulness. Actually, here I just put the number 4. The Great Discourse on Foundation of Mindfulness is also okay. The number 4, I don't need to put the title, but to know how many foundations of mindfulness, firstly, I put it on the title on 4 foundations of mindfulness. So we can also translate in another way. Instead of foundations, we can also translate the objects of mindfulness or arousing of mindfulness. So it means we can train our mind taking the 4 objects 4 objects to get the mindfulness. So if we don't train our mind putting these objects, so our mind will be, careless. We will not be mindful on seeing or hearing or smelling extra. That's why the Buddha instructed us to train our mind to get the mindfulness firstly, to establish mindfulness in this sutta.
So
Can you
move
change?
Yeah,
Move on, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I intended to give this lecture as 2 sections, 2 series. Section 1. So, Section 1 is the overview of this sutta, the background of the sutta. This sutta was preached by the Buddha in Guru division, Guru Kingdom in the Gammasa Dhamma village or Guru Kingdom, because the Buddha knows the people of Guru can understand this sutta when he preached this sutta. That's why the Buddha preached this sutta to the people of Guru, because these people live in the convenient place with good weather and good food. That's why their mind and body are very healthy. So they are healthy in mind and body. Because of that, their IQ is very good to understand what the Buddha preached. That's why the Buddha chose this sutta to preach to those people of Guru. So nowadays, the place is found in New Delhi in India. So I hope some of you have been there, where the Buddha preached the Satipațțhāna Sutta in New Delhi, India. So as you know, 4 foundations. So Kaya, Vedana, Citta, Dhamma, in Pali, the body, the feeling, and the consciousness or the mind, and the Dhamma, means the object. So among them, as you see here, body and feelings. So I will not emphasize everything in detail for this sutta, because this sutta is long sutta. So if we study thoroughly in detail, so it will take long time. But now for us, we have only 2 class, 2 session, 1 hour and a half. So I will emphasize to explain in very easy way without emphasizing on Pali in detail. So firstly, body and feelings among the 4 foundations of mindfulness. So it is called in Pali, Kaya and Vedana. Okay, next slide. So what is Satipațțhāna Sutta? So this sutta was preached by the Buddha, as just now we discussed. The Buddha preached this sutta to establish mindfulness based on the 4 objects, 4 foundations. So this is intended to give an instruction how to practice vipassana meditation, especially vipassana meditation. The Buddha preached in this sutta, even in the introduction, the Buddha said, Ikayano ayam bhikkhave maggo. So this is the only way to reach Nibbana, to attain Nibbana. So that's why we can say this sutta is the path to liberation, the path to Nibbana, the way to Nibbana. So this sutta is especially intended to instruct how to practice insight meditation. If we learn this sutta, we will know how to practice insight meditation, especially, very useful and meaningful when we understand the meaning of this sutta. So in this Sutta, we can find a detailed explanation of the establishment of the mindfulness based on the 4 foundations or 4 objects. 4 objects. So because of 4 objects, mindfulness also can be subdivided into 4. So 4 mindfulness we can also say, because we had to establish our mindfulness on the body, on the feeling, on the mind, and on the Dhamma. So if we establish mindfulness on the body, it is called the Kaya Nupassana. We contemplate the body. We contemplate body to establish mindfulness. To get a mindfulness, we had to be mindful of the body firstly. And to get the mindfulness, we had to contemplate on the feeling, experiences, or sometimes it is called emotion, but usually it is translated as a feeling for the what Vedana, feeling or experience. Our Raktasiyaro likes to translate that word as experience instead of feeling. So anyway, so we must try to contemplate our feeling or experience to establish mindfulness. In the same way, we can also contemplate our mind to establish mindfulness, to get the mindfulness. And also, we can also contemplate the Dhamma, or the object, or we can also see the many different kinds of reality, different kinds of states. We may say the Nivarana, the state of mind actually. So we can also contemplate them to establish mindfulness. So you can understand 2 types of mindfulness. Firstly, if we remember something, if we recognize something, it is called mindfulness. So we perceive something and we keep in our memory. That is sanya. We had to say possession in English. So in Pali, it is called the sanya. Sanya. So in the 5 aggregates, it is one of the 5 aggregates, sanya kanda. So when we see something, so we perceive it and we keep it in our memory. So that is called sanya, possession. And if we try to remember that we kept before or we said before, that is called mindfulness. Mindfulness called the memory. So such a remembering or calling is also called the mindfulness. But for the meditation, the mindfulness, being mindful of the present moment, present object. So whatever appears in our seeing or hearing or thinking or feeling extra. So whatever appears in our seeing and hearing, so we are mindful of those things. That is also called mindfulness. So mindfulness, being mindful of the present moment, the object we see at the present moment. That's why mindfulness can be divided into 2. The first kind of mindfulness is remembers the things in the past we experienced. And another kind of mindfulness is remembering the present object we are experiencing at the moment. So we had to differentiate 2 types of mindfulness. So to get such a mindfulness, to be mindful of the present object we are experiencing, we had to train our mind. So maybe before we don't have a strong mindfulness, powerful mindfulness, but we can try to establish mindfulness. We can train our mind to be mindful of any object we had to experience in our daily life. So in this way, we should understand 2 types of mindfulness. And we try to establish the second kind of mindfulness that can be mindful of anything that is clear at the present moment. So if we have such a mindfulness that can be mindful of anything at the present moment. We will understand the real nature of those things, real nature of everything we see, we hear, etc. So if we have mindfulness, so although here the Buddha emphasized mindfulness, actually to attain Nibbana, to be free from any suffering. So not only mindfulness, so the Eightfold Noble Path must be applied here. So led by the mindfulness, we may say. So I hope you have already known the Eightfold Noble Path. So 8 path factors, Samma Vajja, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, right speech, right action, and right livelihood. So as a foundation, we should have these 3 types of factor. Samma Vajja, we must say the truth. So we must say the truth in a polite way. So we shouldn't, use the abusive words extra, like Musawada, Bisunawaja, Sampapalaba, Prusawaja, Sampapalaba, Bisunawaja, Musawada, Bisunawaja, Prusawaja, Sampapalaba. We must avoid such evil words, evil speeches. And if we follow the right speech, we must say the truth. We must, try to negotiate the people who are not getting well each other like that. And also we must say the polite words, and also we must say the meaningful words for our development of life. So in this way, firstly, right speech, right action, and right livelihood must be included, must be applied in our daily life. Based on then, we can extend to develop our mental power, using, Samma Vayama, right effort, Samma Sati, right mindfulness, and Samma Samadhi. So if we try, it means we are applying the right Samma Vayama. And if we are trying to be mindful of anything we see or we hear in our daily life, so we are trying to establish the right mindfulness as well. So if we have right mindfulness, we can concentrate on the object we are taking. So we can concentrate whatever we are doing. Now you are studying or attending the class. So if you have right effect and mindfulness, so you can concentrate on this lecture, on this class, and you will have a right thinking, right thought, Samma Sankappa. And you will have right understanding about the teachings of the Buddha, especially here, Satipațțhāna Sutta. You will understand what the Satipațhāna Sutta means because you have right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. And also you have right thought or right thinking deeply, and you have right understanding because of mindfulness and effort. So you will have the right concentration first. If you have those factors, so you will have a right thinking and right understanding. So in this way, in our daily life also, we can apply these Eightfold Noble Paths. Although the Buddha emphasized here mindfulness, but we must understand all the 8 Noble Paths are included in the mindfulness here. So the Buddha said, Ekayano ayam bhikkhawe maggo. The only way to apply here, that is mindfulness, the Buddha said. But we must understand not only mindfulness, but also the other 7 path factors are included in this path. So the path to liberation, the path to Nibbana, we must say so. Okay, next slide, Bandi. So, purpose of the teaching, purpose of this sutta. Why did the Buddha preach this sutta? So just now, the reason why did the Buddha preach this sutta? The Buddha, knew the ability of the people of Guru, so they can understand this teaching when the Buddha preached. That is one reason. And what is the purpose of the teaching? What kind of benefits we can attain from this teaching? So if we do something, we may expect some benefits from doing something. So without any benefits, we don't want to do anything. That's why we must have a purpose or reason to do something. So here, the benefits we can attain by studying this sutta, by learning this sutta, and by applying this teaching in our daily life. So there are 7 benefits the Buddha showed in this sutta. So if we know these 7 benefits, we were trying to learn this sutta and we were trying to apply the instructions in our daily life. So the first benefit is purification of beings. Means really purification of minds of being. So only physical purification is not enough. If you take a bath maybe 10 times, 100 times in a day, it is not enough to purify your mind. That's why we need to take a bath for our mentality as well, not only for the physicality. To purify our mind, we should be mindful of anything we experience in our daily life. So the first benefit we can attain by applying this method of teaching, we can purify our mind. I hope you know the very essence of the Buddha's teachings. Sabba babasa agrana kusalasa upasambara sajikta briyota bana idam Buddhana sasana. Not to do evil deeds, to do good deeds, and to purify one's mind. To purify one's mind. These are the teachings of all Buddhas like this. I hope you have known that already. And to purify our mind, what should we do? We should apply the methods taught in this sutta. So that is being mindful of anything we see or we hear in our daily life. So if we can be mindful of the things we experience in our daily life, firstly, the benefit we can attain is to purify our mind. We can purify our mind, purification of beings. So that is in Pali Saddhana Visuddhiya. So not just purification of being, purification of minds of being. To purify our mind is very important to be happy and peaceful in our daily lives. Although we may have a lot of properties, a lot of words, but sometimes we may not be happy because we don't know how to live happily and peacefully according to the Buddha's teachings. So that's why we can apply this teaching to purify our mind. And second benefit, overcoming sorrow. So the second line is combining 2 benefits, overcoming sorrow and lamentation. So if we apply this method in our daily life, so we can overcome sorrow, soga, and bridewa, lamentation. So we can overcome those, sorrow and lamentation. So sometimes if we lose something, so at that time we have a feeling of sorrow and a feeling of lamentation. So we cannot keep it in our heart. We had to cry loudly, talking something. If we lose someone we loved, so at that time we had to cry, oh, I lost this beloved person. So how should I live without him or without her? Something like that. We had to cry loudly. As in the Sutta commentaries, the commentator explained with the story of Patajara and story of the minister Santati. I hope you know the story, right? Patajara, who has a lot of, problems. That's why she was met. But when she met the Buddha, so the Buddha preached some Dhamma for her. So at that time, she got realization and attained Sotapadimagga and Phala. For the minister Santati, so he also lost his dancer. He lost her so much, and he lost a dancer. At that time, he got a lamentation. He was very sad, losing her. That's why he met the Buddha, and the Buddha preached Dhamma. So he got the realization too. He became an arahant, even an arahant. So without worrying about the things in the past and the things in the future, only just focusing on the present moment, so we can be happy and peaceful. So in this way, if we can apply the mindfulness, establishing mindfulness, we can overcome sorrow and lamentation. So if we apply these teachings or method, we can gain these two benefits as well. We can overcome sorrow and lamentation. And next, disappearance of pain and grief, dukkha domanasana atangamaya. So we have pain and grief in our daily life. So mentally pain or sometimes physically pain and grief we have. So if we lose something, we are very pleasant. At that time also we may have a pain or suffering. So mental pain and physical pain, we can say. So disappearance of pain and grief. Dukkha and domanassa, we must differentiate. Dukkha is a physical pain, grief is a mentally grief. So sometimes, although the body is not, pleasant, but if our mind is very happy, we don't care the physical pain. Sometimes, if we have a pain in our mind, although the physical condition is good, but we cannot feel that the physical pleasant one. So we are not happy because in our mind, we are not happy. Although we experience very good condition as a physical ones, but we are not happy. We cannot be peaceful. That's why to remove them, to remove the pain, physical pain and grief, mental grief. So we must apply this method given by the Buddha in this Satipațțhāna Sutta, that is establishing mindfulness. And if we have mindfulness, and we can try to remove these pain and grief. So that is also two benefits we can expect by applying this method of mindfulness. And next one, reaching the noble path. So you see here the noble path, noble. So ordinary path and noble path, we must differentiate. In the Sutta, the commentator explained Lokiya Magga and Lokodara Magga, Popa Bhaga Magga and Mesaka Magga, etc. So to reach the noble path means that surely leads to Nibbana. For the ordinary people like us, so we are trying to reach the noble path. So we can give the example about this. There are highways connecting one city to another, very straight and very even and very good road, a very straight way. So to reach there, we must try to go there first. So firstly, we are trying to establish mindfulness and other kind of bad factors. So if we get it, all of them, we will reach the noble path. So before reaching the highway road, we must approach that road firstly from different places, from different, regions. We had to try to reach there first. If we reach on the highway road, so we don't need to try a lot. We just follow that way. So we will reach there, our destination, that is Nibbana. So to reach Nibbana, we must try to firstly reach the noble path. So if we attain the noble path, we don't need to worry to reach Nibbana. It will automatically reach the Nibbana if we follow that way. So in this way, we can also attain the benefit, that is reaching the noble path. And the last one is the realization of the Nibbana. Realizing Nibbana, of the Nibbana, we may say. So Nibbana means Nirvana. So Ni means without or no. Vana means craving. So without craving, without defilements, without impurities. So usually as a worldly people, our mind has a lot of impurities, like a lot of defilements, like, very greedy, or we are very angry, or we don't know the reality because of moha or delusion. So we cannot see the reality. If we are very greedy, we cannot see the reality. If we are very angry, we cannot see the reality. We may decide wrongly. That's why if we want to decide something deeply, so at that moment we shouldn't be very greedy and we shouldn't be very angry. So we should train our mind to be calm, to be peaceful first. So with the peaceful mind, we can decide rightly in the correct way. So in this way, if we have, greed, hatred, and delusion, so we cannot see the reality. We cannot attain the Nibbana. So Nibbana is not a place physically reached. So that is just mentality. We can realize, sometimes we say, oh, very good to sleep. So why falling asleep? How do you know? How you know it was very good to sleep? Actually, after waking up, we had to say, "Oh, last night it was very good to sleep." We say, without directly knowing. So without knowing anything, so that is very good. So Nibbana also, if we realize Nibbana, there is no defilement, no impurity. That's why without impurity, without defilement, our mind can be very pure, very peaceful. So only the characteristic of peace exists in the Nibbana, we had to say, mentality. So not physical place Nibbana is. So to attain Nibbana means to remove every, defilement, every impurity. So without impurity, without defilements, so our mind can be very peaceful, can be very happy. So that means we attain Nibbana. That's why here, realizing Nibbana, just realizing, understanding, or comprehending the Nibbana. So that means, so if we train our mind with mindfulness, establishing mindfulness and seeing everything in our daily life, and if we understand the reality of them as impermanence, anicca, because of impermanence, everything is unsatisfactory. Not just because of pain, it is called dukkha, but because of impermanence, it is called dukkha. And also, we cannot control everything. Like, we were born as a very young person, infant. We cannot do anything by ourselves as soon as we were born by our mother. But later, we when we become older and older, so we can do something. We cannot stop aging. So although we don't want to be older and older, but later, naturally, we had to be older and older. We had to become older and older. We are getting older, although we don't have a desire to be so. So we cannot control that nature. Like, the sun rises from the east and goes its way and set in the west. So we cannot control the sun not to be so. So what we can do is just understanding. So they are naturally going, existing, and disappearing. So we just trying to understand the real nature of them. If we understand so, although we face a lot of problems or anything, so sometimes the conditions are good, sometimes conditions are bad. Although we meet different conditions, good or bad, so we can endure any situation in our life. So to get that situation, that understanding, we had to try to establish mindfulness. Okay, so the purpose of teaching is to get these 7 benefits. So firstly, we can purify our minds, and second, we can overcome sorrow and lamentation, and we can remove the pain and grief, and we can reach the noble path. So in the right way, and we can attain Nibbana, that is free from all kinds of suffering. So if you want these benefits, you must learn how to apply this teaching preached in this Satipațțhāna Sutta. Okay, so if you know these benefits, I hope you have interest to learn this sutta very well. Without knowing the benefits, we are not interested in doing something. That's why the Buddha firstly showed the benefits. If you learn this sutta and if you follow the instruction given in this sutta, you will attain these benefits in our daily life. Not only this life, but also in the future lives, we may experience these benefits because we know the way how to apply this method given in this sutta. Okay, next. Okay, so to establish mindfulness, we must know the places where we can train our mind to get mindfulness. So the first one is a kaya, the body. Second one is a vedana, feelings. And third one is a mind, citta. And fourth one is a dhammas. In the Sutta, the Buddha preached in detail for the body. The Buddha differentiated 14 kinds of body, like anabana, the in-breath and out-breath. The breath is called rupa according to Abhidhamma. According to Abhidhamma, rupa. The breath is included in the kaya or metta or rupa. So if we put the mind on the breath, in breath and out breath, if we are mindful of our breath, whenever it's enter and go out, whenever it's inhale and exhale, whenever it's go in and go out, so we are mindful of the breath at the tip of the nose, or at the upper lip, So where the breath touches, clearly we had to be mindful. So there are also the other types of kaya, the other types of body. Just now, as I said, there are 14 kinds of body. But basically, if we know the way how to be mindful of our breath, it is enough for the kaya. So whenever the breaths in and out, we had to be mindful of that. If so, it means we are establishing the mindfulness. So step by step, we must try to be so. As a kid, so they cannot walk very well when they were very young, but later they can walk step by step, and then they can even run quickly like this. We had to try. As a beginners, everything is difficult. We think so. But if we try something again and again, if so, it becomes easier and easier. So that's why never sit down or never give up. So if you have difficulty to do something at the beginning stage, so that is nature for everyone. So no one is very easy. So everyone had to try. That is called, perfection, parami. You know, parami, perfections. So if we don't have perfection in this life, we must fulfill it in this life. If we are waiting to get perfection without doing anything, so it is not good. It cannot be, fulfilled our perfection. That's why we must start today. So doing something is better than nothing. So we are doing something. So we must learn something at the beginning stage, although we don't very clearly understand, but later, so because of this perfection, so it supports us to understand very well. So as a kaya, as a body, to establish mindfulness, we must be mindful of our breath. Whenever the breath ins and out, so at that moment we are trying to be mindful of it. So in this way we can establish mindfulness. Just now, as I said, if we have, right effect, so to be mindful of the breath also we need effort, viriya, sama, vayama, right effort. So together with right effort, if we are mindful of the breath, so we have strong mindfulness. So at the beginning stage, our mindfulness will be very weak. But if we try to be mindful of the breath again and again, so our mindfulness become powerful, become stronger. So if we have strong mindfulness, so we can concentrate on the object very clearly. So if we can concentrate on the object, we will think correctly. We will think deeply and in a correct way. So if we can think so, we will understand the real nature of the breath. Oh, this breath in and out, comes in and comes out. So it is not permanent. So as a vipassana insight meditation, so we may firstly understand the heat and cold. So when we breathe in, so there is cold, the breath is cold, and when we breathe out, the breath is a little hot, heat from the body. So that's why, uh, firstly, we will understand the sabawa lakkhana, individual characteristic. So the breath is a vayodhatu, rupa, one of the four great elements, one of Mahabuddha, according to Abhidhamma. So vayodhatu has motion. So even vayodhatu we say, so four great elements are included in it. So, but here we say the breath as a object. So the breath is the most clearest one is a vayo, motion. So it is moving here and there. We had to see the movement of the breath, motion of the breath. So if we see that, we will also understand as is samanya lakkhana, universal characteristic or anicca. So the breath is impermanent. We will understand in our own understanding. We will understand. So to understand, so we had to practice insight meditation, vipassana bhavana, vipassana meditation. So firstly, we trying to establish mindfulness and concentration, and then step by step we will understand its nature as motion or movement, and also we will understand next step as a next step. It is impermanent. So in going in and going out, coming in and coming out. So if we see it again and again like this, we naturally understand, automatically understand that it's impermanent. Because of impermanent nature, so it is not satisfactory, it is unsatisfactory. Sometimes it is very good to be mindful of that, but sometimes it is not good. So that is impermanent. Because of that, we had to understand that is dukkha as a unsatisfactory. Mostly it is translated as dukkha, as translated as suffering or pain. But in the three characteristics, anicca, dukkha, anatta, in this case, dukkha should be translated as a unsatisfactoriness, because nothing is permanent. Because of impermanent nature, everything is not satisfactory. So when we experience good feelings sometimes, but we want them to be permanent, but that is also impermanent, appearing and a few minutes later or very quickly, it can disappear. It can be impermanent. Because of that, we understand that is unsatisfactoriness. And as a anatta also, we cannot control this breath. If you stop breathing, so what will it be for you? It can die, right? Without breathing naturally. But if you attain jhana, or if you are sinking into the water for a temporarily, you can stop breathing. If you attain fourth jhana, so your breath can be stopped. You think when you are fainted at that time also, the breath can be stopped sometimes, not permanently. But normally we cannot stop breathing. If we stop breathing, we will die naturally. So we had to be careful of our breath. And although we don't see our breath, we are not mindful of our breath. So the breath is breathing and breathing out naturally. It is working. It is working. If we don't take any benefit from it, we will not get it. So like waterfall or sun wind. So if you can take the electricity from the water, so you can get the electricity, you can get the light. Without taking anything, you will not get anything. That's why breathing and breathing out naturally happening. But if we don't take anything, if we are not mindful of it, so we cannot get any benefits. So if we are mindful of that very carefully, very deeply and concentratedly, so we can understand, we can get the understanding, we can get the wisdom, we can get the understanding of nature. So in this way, on the body we can contemplate. At the second one, feelings. Vedana. So mostly it is translated as feelings, but sometimes it is translated as experience. Western people sometimes say Vedana is emotion, but according to Abhidhamma, some scholars don't like that translation, emotion, for the Vedana. So we may also say some stress of the mind, also a kind of feeling. But in the Buddha's teaching, mostly it is divided into three kinds of feeling: sukha vedana, pleasant feeling; dukkha vedana, unpleasant feeling; and adukkhama sukha vedana, neither pleasant or non-pleasant feeling. Neither pleasant or non-unpleasant feeling, like that. So three types of feeling it can be divided. So when we see something we love, so desirable object we see, so at that time we are happy, we like seeing that object again and again. But sometimes the object is undesirable. So ugly things, if we see, we don't like them. So that at that moment, dukkha vedana arises. Dukkha vedana. Sometimes we may be angry with that object when we see something. So when we see someone we hate, so when we see him or her again and again, we may be angry with that person. And some people we don't know very well. On the way we may meet such a people we don't know, we don't love, we don't hate. So just, Adho Karma Sukha feeling, neither pleasant nor no unpleasant feeling arises in our mind. So in this way, feelings, three kinds of feeling can arise when we see something, a desirable object or undesirable object, and neutral object. So depending on the object and depending on our mind, our intention, wise intention or unwise intention, the feeling can be different. Mostly we may say, when you see the Buddha, are you happy or not? Can you answer? One of you. When you see the Buddha, are you happy or not?
Happy, Sayadaw.
Happy, sir.
Yeah, because you are a Buddhist, right? You like the Buddha. You like the Buddha. So like some people, the people of Magandhi, I hope you know the story of Magandhi, Lady Magandhi. She hates the Buddha a lot because the Buddha said her body is very disgusting. According to the Dhamma view, the Buddha said to her, the body is full of, discard things. Because of that, what Magandhi hates the Buddha. That's why she hates the Buddha. So when the Buddha goes for alms, so she asks people to scold the Buddha, to use the abusive words, something like that. So some people can hate the Buddha, although the Buddha is very, perfect person, but some of them will hate the Buddha. Even the Buddha they hate. So in this way, depending on the, objects and depending on our intention, so for us, we are a Buddhist, a Panya Buddhist. We know the virtues of the Buddha. So when we see the Buddha, so we are happy. We are happy. But if we don't know the virtues of the Buddha. So although we see the Buddha, we don't know about him. So neutral feeling also can arise in our mind. Like Lady Magandhi, when she see the Buddha, she hates the Buddha. So she can be angry with the Buddha when she sees the Buddha. So depending on the objects we see, we hear, or depending on our intentions, so feeling can be different, whether it is pleasant or unpleasant or neutral feeling. Okay, so actually in the Satipațțhāna Sutta, the Buddha subdivided the feeling into 9 types, but only 3 is enough for the beginners. So I will not explain very detailed. So I hope you remember the 3 types of feeling: Sukha Vedana, Dukkha Vedana, and Adho Karma Sukha Vedana. Sukha Vedana can arise depending on the desirable object. Normally, Dukkha Vedana, painful feeling, can arise depending on the undesirable object. And Adho Karma Sukha Vedana can arise depending on the neutral object. Okay, I hope you understand about the feelings as 3 types here. So depending on the objects we see, we hear, and depending on our intention, so Sukha or Dukkha or Adho Karma Sukha Vedana can arise differently. And third one, mind Citta. The mind Citta. So actually the mind is only one as a characteristic of knowing the object. So our mind trying to know the object. Because of knowing the object, it is called Citta. Aramana, Jingde, Diti, Citta. So Citta, the mind, thinks about one thing. One thing refers to the object. Maybe, when we see something at the time, the mind arises because of seeing the object. So actually, mentally, we think about something. We think of something. So because of thinking, mind arises. When we see something, eye consciousness arises. When we hear something, ear consciousness arises. When we smell something, nose consciousness arises. When we eat something, when we taste something, so tongue consciousness arises. And when we touch something with our body, body consciousness arises. And when we think of something, so mental consciousness arises. Mana or mind or consciousness arises. So Citta arises because of, contacting with the object like seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. So because of those things, the mind or citta arises again and again. So after arising, the mind disappears quickly. So that's why if we want to know the nature of impermanence, so we have to be mindful of our mind. So our mind can be mindful of our mind, right? So two citta, two consciousness cannot arise together at the same time, according to Abhidhamma. But the earlier citta can be the object of new citta. So previous citta can be the object of new citta. So in this way, we must understand how to be mindful of the citta. So although citta, two cittas cannot arise together, we cannot touch only one tip of the finger. Only one finger cannot touch its tip of the finger. But if we had two, we can touch each other. So to be mindful of the consciousness, we must have another consciousness. So consciousness arises and existing for a while and disappears. So in this way, we must understand to be mindful of the citta. So previous citta, the disappearing of citta can be contemplated by the new citta. So two different types of citta, many types of citta arises and dissolves again and again, again and again, again and again. So because of being quick, we think only one citta, but we have different types of citta arises and disappears, But we think only one citta arises permanently. But if we are mindful of the consciousness deeply, so that citta arises and disappears again and again, again and again. Different citta arises and disappears again and again. If we had the same citta, so if we are happy, so we should be happy all the time. We should be all happy all the time. If we have only one citta, if we remember something, we shouldn't forget later, right? Because different jhanas, depending on the different jhanas and different perception and different, memory, different mindfulness, so appearing and disappearing, coming and going. In this way, naturally, the process of arising and disappearing happening. That's why nothing is permanent. If we deeply contemplate the mind, we have to see its nature or impermanent very clearly. So to see the mind, we must establish mindfulness. So based on the mind, we can also establish mindfulness. Okay, so this mind can be analyzed as a 16 types of citta in the Sutta, but I will not explain in detail all of them because limited time. So basically, generally, if you understand the mind knows the object and the mind always thinks about something. So if we know the nature of mind. So I think it's enough for you now. And next one, Dhamma. Dhamma means a mental object we usually say. Actually, if you have background knowledge of Abhidhamma, so you will clearly understand. You will understand more. If you don't have a background knowledge of Abhidhamma, if you emphasize the meaning of the words, so you may not understand. But to understand how to practice, how to be mindful of the anything appear in our mind or in our daily life, it will be easy. Just emphasize to understand the meaning of this sutta, not to emphasize the thorough meaning of the words. Okay, so as a Dhamma, so the Buddha preached in the sutta different types of Dhamma as a 5 kinds of Dhamma, mainly 5 kinds of Dhamma. The first kind of Dhamma is a Nivarana, hindrances like a sensual desire, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and worry, and also doubt. So something like that. So not very strict thing actually. The Buddha preached that things appear in our mind and body. The Buddha preached. So to understand the nature of them, we had to try to practice insight meditation. We had to try to establish mindfulness. If we have enough mindfulness, enough concentration, enough deeply thinking, and enough understanding, we will understand anything arises in our daily life. So in this way, Dhamma have 5 types of Dhamma, but later you will see. But firstly, I want to say here only Nivarana hindrances. So if we follow, if we emphasize all of them, it will take a long time. Okay, so now I hope 4 foundations or 4 objects you must remember. 4 foundations or 4 objects. So to train our mind to get the mindfulness and concentration, we need effort, right effort, samavayama. Without effort, we cannot do anything. So to speak one word, we had to make effort. We had to be mindful of that word, and we had to concentrate on the word to understand the meaning. And also, we had to think about that correctly. And also, we must understand the meaning of the word what we are talking. So even one word we say in our daily life. So these factors must be applied, must be included. Without them, without mindfulness, if we say something, it can be wrong. So the wrong meaning. So the person who listen to our words, so they may misunderstand if we are not very careful of our words and meaning. That's why even one word we had to make effort to pronounce or to correctly talk. So in this way, we must understand anything, whatever we do in our life, we must have effort. So that effort must be the right one, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration, right thought or thinking, and right understanding must be included in our daily life, whatever we do. So if so, not only for the attainment of Nibbana, but also for the, succeeding in our life, to be successful in life, to reach our destination. So we can apply these factors. So it is the only way to be successful in our life. We can say so. So to establish mindfulness and other mental factor, we must apply. We must see the body, the Gaya,
So
the
Ravya,
feeling, Vedana, yeah.
So Ravya, your internet not stable, maybe.
Oh,
Your voice not clear. Said, oh, sorry.
uh-huh.
Maybe my one. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Depending on internet, so we can hear clearly or not.
Yeah, now clearly said on now clear.
Yeah. Intention. Just now I explained as I explained. Yeah. Different feelings can arise depending on the situation, different situations. Okay, so I hope you remember the 4 foundations or 4 objects. So we can also say objects, kaya object, Vedana object, Jada objects, and Dhamma objects. So based on these 4, we can train our mind to be mindful of them, to get the mindfulness, strong mindfulness, concentration, and right thinking and right understanding. Okay, so next, Andy, next slides.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, just now when I introduced the Gaia, I had explained a little mindfulness of breathing. So if you understand how to be mindful of your breath, so as a Kaya Nupassana, the first way of contemplating according to Satipațțhāna Sutta, you will understand. So mostly our mind thinks about many things, the things in the past or the things in the future. So thinking the thing in the past, we had to worry. And sometimes we may be happy thinking about the happy things, or in the future also, we may, think about the things in the future, not happening right now, but we think about the things in the future, and we may be happy. Sometimes we are worrying about those things before the worry. That's why some people say, "Don't worry until the worry worries you." Yeah, I hope you have known that what one sentence some people say, some scholar maybe, don't worry until the worry worries you. So as a English grammar also very useful that word. As a meaning also very meaningful in our daily life. Don't worry until the worry worries you. So we don't need to worry about the things before happening. So although we worry about the things in the future, but when it happens at present moment, it is not bad. We can overcome very easily. So before happening, we shouldn't worry about that thing, but we can prepare very well, but we don't need to worry. So that's why some people say, don't worry until the worry worries you. So we don't need to worry thinking about the things in the past, and we don't need to worry thinking about the things in the future. So if we are mindful of our breath, so we prohibited our mind not to think the things in the past and the thing in the future. Just put the mind on the present object, that is in breath and out breath, inhale and exhale. So observing inhale and exhale, observing in breath and out breath. So we gives a duty for our mind to be mindful of the breath. That's why when the mind has a job to be mindful of the breath, so it doesn't have a time to think about the things in the past and to think about the things in the future. That's why the mind can stay here. But at the beginning stage, it will be very difficult because the mind is like a monkey. So monkey cannot stay only one branch of a tree. So the monkey jump one branch to another, one tree to another. So our mind also like a monkey, jump from seeing to hearing, or from smelling to tasting, or from touching to thinking about something. So our mind jumps from one object to another, one object to another. So it is very difficult to control it, not to think about those things. That's why the Buddha gave the method how to stop thinking a lot. So that is to be mindful of the breath. So if we are mindful of the breath whenever it enters, whenever it goes out. So we are mindful of the breath at the tip of the nose or upper lip. So we will find that breath in these two places. So mostly tip of the nose. So we are mindful of it. When we breathe in, we must know it. When we breathe out, we must know it. So knowing or observing is very important. It means being mindful of the breath. Whenever breathe in, whenever breathe out, we must know that. So if we can train our mind observing the inhale and exhale, so our mind can stay there without going here and there, going here and there. So in this way, we must try to train the mind, observing the in-breath and out-breath. So that is called Kaya Nupassana, contemplating the body in the bodies. So we had to say according to the Sutta. But in easy way, just put the mind on the breath. So if we try to be mindful of the breath again and again, again and again, without, if the mind goes away, so at the beginner, we just call it to come back here. So like, sometimes we visit somewhere. After that, we had to come back our home. So the breath is our home for the meditator. So we had to be mindful of the breath. We may hear some sound noisily. At that time, the mind may think about that noise. Oh, what is that? Something like that. After that, we just come back to the breath. So in this way, we must try to be mindful of the breath. And sometimes the breath is long, and sometimes the breath is short. So we must also know, as a second stage, we must try to be mindful of the breath and know when long breath or short breath. So if we, are mindful of the breath, so we will know this breath is long, breathing long and breathing out long. Sometimes breathing in short and breathing out short. So when it is long, we must know it long breath. When it is short, we must know it as short breath. So if we have strong mindfulness, so we will see whether it is long or short as well. Not only just being mindful of the breath, but also knowing the breath is long or short. If we try to be mindful of the breath in this way, as a second stage, we know the breath is long and the breath is short. And later, we will know the breath is very calm, very calm. You may notice when you run, your breath is very strong. When you sit very calmly, very quietly and very calmly without moving, so your breath is very calm, very soft, very gentle. That's why sometimes we may think, oh, there is no breath. But the breath is very calm and very gentle and very soft, very tender. That's why we may not notice there is the breath breathing and breathing out. If we run, so we clearly see our breath very strong. If we keep sitting and contemplating or being mindful of the breath, so later the body also very calm and the mind also very calm, the breath also very calm. So you will see the breath body. Here, the body means the breath. So the breath is very calm. So it is difficult to see very clearly at the higher stage. So we may even think there is no breath. There is no breath. But we must know it, that situation, just knowing, just being mindful of the tip of the nose. So as a anapana, as a mindfulness of breathing. So in this way, if you can train your mind putting on the breath, observing inhale and exhale, firstly, we try to be mindful of the breath to establish mindfulness and other path factors. And then as a second stage, we will know the long breath or short breath. And later, when our mindfulness is become stronger, concentration become powerful, at that moment, at that time, our breath will become calmer, so that we cannot notice that is the breath. So in this way, we can establish our mindfulness and concentration. And if we have strong mindfulness and concentration, we will see the real nature of our breath. We will understand it is a motion, moving, and it is impermanent. We cannot stop it. So it is not satisfactory. It is a kind of unsatisfactoriness. And also we cannot control it. We cannot control it. It is going in and going out naturally. So we cannot control it. There is no person or no being or no ego or no set in the process of breathing in and breathing out. So later, by being mindful of the breath again and again, so our mind become concentrated on the breath. So we will also understand like that, only just breath going in and going out, appearing and disappearing, only the motion appears and disappears. So nothing is permanent. This breath not permanent. When it breathes in, it disappears. It is impermanent. It is, unsatisfactory. It is not self or not ego, just nature. Nature of the breath is going in and going out, appearing and disappearing. We will understand as anicca, dukkha, anatta as well. So in this way, we must try to practice insight meditation based on the breath. So based on the breath, we try to establish mindfulness, concentration, and right thinking, and right understanding. So including our effort. Without effort, so nothing can be easy. Okay, I hope now, is it time set or not, Bande, Sorata?
Now
Do-
it's 10 o'clock in Cambodia. It's time. But if you sort of wish another maybe around 10 or 15 minutes, you can go, Sayadaw.
Okay, one slice.
Yeah. Okay, so please.
Okay, so next, Kaya, connected with the Kaya Nupassana, the Buddha instructed to be mindful of the posture awareness. So Iryapatha in Pali. So there are four postures. The first one is a walking, standing, sitting, and lying down. So whenever we are walking, we must know walking. So some people may say, everyone knows walking, but this one is not ordinary knowing or walking. We will be mindful of our step when we are walking. In the process of one step, so that is, intention we have. We have intention. That is a kind of mind or consciousness. Because of this consciousness, this intention, I will walk. So the leg, we lift the leg and move forward and placing on the floor. So because of our intention, Vayodhana do carry our leg. So many conditions include in one step. So we must know like that. So when we walk, so walking is not just walking. So to happen this walking, to happen this one step, So we must have intention, that is mind. And Vayodhatu, the air element, carry the leg and putting on the floor. So in this way, mind and body, nama and rupa works in union, works together. So we must also know the causes of this one step, and we must also know the nature of the process of walking, process of one step. So that's why in walking meditation, so we have to be mindful of our leg, but just not leg is not enough. We must also be mindful of our intention. Oh, I will walk. So because of that intention in our mind, we lift the leg. So although we say we lift, that is actually Vayodhatu, air element carry the leg and make the leg move forward and placing on the floor, placing on the floor. So in this way, we must try to be mindful of our walking, So if we really understand the process of walking, so we will understand in the one step there are some, natures or conditions include in that one step. So there is no person or being or self or ego, only nature or the mind and body arises and disappear, arises and disappear. If we have, enough mindfulness and concentration, we will see then clearly intention and air element, and also, the mind working together in one step. So only those natures work together. So there is no self or ego or, other sentient being not included in it. Only nature or, intention and air element works together. We will have to see that inside the one step, inside the step. So not just appearance, not just, cover. We must see insight. So to see insight, we must also have insight. Insight, INSIDE, insight. Inside the body, we must see insight, right? Intuition or wisdom or understanding. If we have understanding, so we can see deeply inside of the walking step. So if we understand so, in the same way, in the posture of standing, in the posture of sitting, in the posture of lying down, we can also understand. But this is a emphasize on the posture. That's why we had to say in walking posture, in standing posture, in sitting posture, in lying down posture, we must see the intention and the air element and HUA happening on the step or standing or sitting or lying down. We must try to be mindful of the steps or walking and standing, sitting and lying down. So based on these four postures, we can also try to be mindful of them to establish mindfulness, concentration, and understanding. Okay, so I hope you got it, this one too. Based on four postures, we can establish our mindfulness, concentration, and understanding. If we have enough mindfulness, concentration, and understanding, we will see their reality, just intention and just a element works together. There is no any other being or ego or self or soul. Only just nature arises and disappears. We will understand if we actually practice, if we actually contemplate, then we will understand. you will understand in your own understanding like this. Okay, I hope it's enough for today. If you
Thank
have
you, Sayadaw.
question or want to discuss something, you can freely ask.
Yeah, thank you, Sayadaw, so much. For the
Yes.
student, do you have any question? If you have, Sayadaw is here to wait for your Q&A, maybe around, if you have question. Any question, everyone?
I have a short question.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want Sayadaw to. I'm curious, like for walking meditation, how we be mindful or be curious about how do should we like have to aware of our legs or foots. I'm just curious regarding the movement.
Yeah. As a practical way, we had to be mindful of our foot, maybe, how should I say, lower part of our legs, right? As a beginners, we had to be mindful of our step as a left and right. But just now, as I said later, if we have experienced more and more, we will see behind the steps. That means intention. We have intention to walk. So because of that intention, support to move the air element. That air element carries the foot, move forward. So we have to see even the nature behind the step. So firstly, we had to be mindful of any step we take. So left and right, we may be mindful of that as a beginner. But if you have experienced more than that, so later you will be mindful of your intention as well. So I want to move, something like that. Firstly, you have a desire to move. So you have to be mindful of that desire too. That's intention too. So intention to walk and walking and placing, intention to walk and move and placing. So three stages we had to be mindful. As a second stage, so we contemplate three things: lifting of the foot and moving and placing. Lifting, moving, and placing. So as a second stage, if you have some experience in the walking meditation, so you will be mindful of your step as lifting, moving, and placing or putting on the floor. Three things we had to be mindful. And if you have more experience, okay, so you insert it as the intention to lift and lifting, intention to move and moving, intention to placing and placing. So six things we had to be mindful as a experienced meditators. If so, we will understand naturally in our mind, oh, only intention and air element works together in the process of stepping. So there is no any other beings or self or ego or something. So there is no permanent entity. Only nature arises and disappears, Later, you will understand. So understanding will come later. Firstly, we must be mindful of our step and concentrate on it. So if we have enough mindfulness and concentration, so understanding will come to us as we learn some paragraphs. So we try to recite it again and again. and trying to understand one sentence or one word by word or one sentence by sentence. So finally, the whole paragraph we will understand. We had to read it again and again.
Yeah,
Okay,
I got it.
have you got it?
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Sayadaw,
3
for your
stages you must know. As a beginner, we just focus to be mindful only left and right, left and right. So we just be mindful of the left and right. Later, lifting, moving, and placing. And as a third stage, we insert our intention to. So intention to lift and lifting, intention to move and moving, intention to place and placing. Yeah, in our tradition, so meditation masters instruct like that to be mindful of our step as a walking meditation.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sayadaw. Thank you.
Okay, you are welcome. It's my pleasure.
I think it's time now, 10:21, so it's a bit late at night, I think, in Cambodia. So
Okay,
we will have the class, another session next week on Wednesday. Shadow will give the lecture. So on behalf of the students here, we have 20 around 19 students, and here we have mostly Cambodian student and also Cambodian American student, Cambodian people living in America, and also we have one Sweden, Daniel, working in Cambodia. So uh, I uh, I would like to express my sincere thanks, appreciation to Sayadaw, and next week we will meet again
yes.
for the same class. So maybe conclude our discussion by reciting Buddha Sasanang Chirang Titatu 3 times altogether. Buddha Sasanang
Sasanang Jirang
Titatu
Deitatu Buddha
Buddha
Sasanang Jirang
Chirang
Deitatu Buddha Sasanang Jirang Deitatu
Sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you so much, Sayadaw, and
Yeah, thank you much for listening to me patiently.
Thank you.
I hope
Thank
you
you
got
so
it.
much.
Something.
Yeah.
You got it something.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Bhante. We'll see
Wonderful.
you
Got it.
next week on Wednesday.